I will call the public hearing. We have a public hearing to receive comments on an amendment to the Irmo County Codes, Article 4, Boards, Commissions, and Committees. All we ask is you come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record if you would like to comment during the public hearing. Anyone who would like to comment? Seeing none, then we will close the public hearing and go into our regular meeting, and I will recognize Councilwoman Collins to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, help us tonight make the correct decisions, make the right decisions, so that you will smile down upon us, give us mercy and grace, and keep us all safe from harm. Amen.
Amen.
I hope you like a new chair.
Take a little break.
Next item is the reading of the minutes. Is there a motion for the minutes to be approved as written?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes to be approved as written, do so show of hands. Next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you want to add?
Just a couple of reminders, mostly for the public. We have a concert this Thursday at 6 o'clock in the community park. It will be Mr. John Wesley Satterfield.
6 or 5:30?
6 o'clock. Well, yeah, 5:30 they're going to open up a little drink trailer, but the actual concert starts at 6.
Oh, okay.
And also April 11th will be a recycle day. Crossroads Middle School, like we've done in the past. It's also going to include electronics, rubber, paint. Where's my cheat at? Did I
9
miss
to 12. No, sir, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, thank you.
Go through that again. Rubber.
Tires.
Okay.
When will this be, Bob?
The 11th of April.
Speaking of rubber tires, the road, you've seen those, okay? I don't know if that's where we were storing them.
Oh, I didn't store them there.
This is the dirt road?
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed those this week.
Well, somebody's already done
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Recycling hazardous materials.
It's about 8 or 10.
The chief just informed me also recycling of hazardous, I guess, paint,
Hazardous materials, paint, thinner, and
other flammable type
biofuels.
of things. Okay.
Used cooking oil.
Really?
That's all part of the recycle
I think.
on the 11th. So if you want to clean out your garage, all those things.
And
now's the
electronic.
time.
Yes.
And
All
electronic.
right, good, got it, okay.
And shredding.
Shredding.
Shredder will be there also. That's all I have.
Any questions of Mr. Brown, or any questions on the briefing? Being none, next item is receiving communications. Does anybody have any receiving communications?
Yeah, we have the final report on the overshot investigation.
If I haven't got anything from them. So, I guess so.
So we didn't get a final report, you're not gonna release the other one and stuff?
I haven't got a final report. I don't think they're through as far as I know. They haven't called me or sent anything to me or said anything to me, so.
I mean, the preliminary one that you got, you still don't wanna release that?
Right.
I haven't heard.
Next item is presentation by citizens. This is for things that are on the agenda tonight. Anyone who would like to speak to us about anything that's on the agenda, just come to the podium. We ask you to give us your name and address for the record, and then which item it is you'd like to speak on. Anyone? Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Is that my cue? Is that my cue?
Uh-huh.
I'm here tonight to speak about the permanent location of the farmer's market. I think I've talked to everybody but one of the council members about this, either by email or verbally, and there may have been a little bit of communication when we came to you last year and then again in December about the location of the market. And we're happy to stay where the market is now on Carlisle Street, especially now that the season is starting in 4 weeks. I think it would be a detriment to the market to change the location. And I was out at the market on Sunday and counted, and I think the reason we don't want it moved, twofold. One is this is our 3rd year, and when you make it into the 3rd year of a farmer's market, you've made it. You've actually established a viable market. People know where it is, the community knows where it is, and I think leaving it in the 3rd year is a mistake. And the second reason is just parking at the new park. The new park is beautiful. There's a great area for the vendors out there, but I counted 123 parking spaces, and that didn't count handicapped. And I honestly don't know if that's the correct number, but that's what I counted. And then when I went out to count it on Sunday, I couldn't find a parking space to park in because the park was well used. I mean, there was parking all over the place. And I think when you only have 123 parking spaces, and we have 50 vendors that come, between 45 and 50 vendors to come, and that doesn't include the 4 cars for Karen and our husbands, I think that doesn't leave a lot of space for patrons of the market and then the utilization of the park by just, community. Now, I spoke with someone, and there may be some usage with the United Methodist Church. I didn't know about that until Sunday. But again, we're 4 weeks away from the market. We want to stay where we are until we come before you again and want to make some changes. And I think exploring the United Methodist Church, using that as parking, is something that we'll definitely do, but not at this point.
You might also want to speak on the last item under new business, because that's you.
Am I the only one?
Yes.
I would like to get involved in the orchestra. I live in this area. I live in Irmo. I grew up a good part of my life is in Irmo. I've been here for 11 years. We established the farmers market in Irmo because I live here. And it's something that was needed in this area. So, I'd love to be a part of the Orchestra Commission.
Said, I'd love to do something with the orchestra. I said, all right, let me write this down.
And I don't know if you have any questions for me about being on the commission. I'll be happy to answer those, or any questions about the farmers market. I know, Councilman Berry, Mr. Walker, you had some concerns about the church, the AME church, and every year we reach out to them. This year I actually called Pastor Bryant, and hopefully they're going to get involved in the market this year. We offered it to them the beginning of last year. They just never got back with us. I had a very good conversation with the pastor this week, and I think that they're going to get involved in the market this year, and also do some fundraising for the small group of youth that they have with the parking situation. So, just want to let you know that I've reached out to him again, and all is well on that front. I'm supposed to know by Sunday. He's meeting again with the folks on Sunday. So I should know on Sunday what their plans are to do. But, we want them a part of the market. We don't want to be an adverse party to them at all.
Any questions?
Any questions about the market?
I'll reserve my comments till we get to that part of the agenda.
Will I have an opportunity to come back up and to answer any questions that you have at that point? Okay. And may I ask another question? Are you planning to vote on this tonight so that the record is clear on where it is going to be this season, and if it's changed, if the location is changed, what that process is to change it so it's not at the end of our season in September.
It's not really an action item, it's simply a
Discussion.
majority of council.
Just discussion.
whether they
Okay.
Want to do, yes.
Okay. Is that it?
Sweet child.
Anyone else who would like to address council?
My name is Chris Rawlings. I'm in 319 Chapel White Road here in Irmo. I'm actually one of the vendors at the market. The reason that my wife and I like the Carlisle Street area is, as a vendor, it is really easy for us to get in and out of. Okay, there's no backup, there's no traffic. You just come around the corner, you drive straight through, you drop your stuff off, you come back around, you park. The proposed moving it to the new park, while it is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and we love the new park, I just don't know that it's conducive for vendors themselves. It seems like there could be a lot of headache trying to get people turned around and get in and out of it, especially people who might have trailers that they're pulling. And so just something to maybe kind of take into account when you guys are talking through this and thinking through it, because coming at it from the vendor side of it, we see awesome traffic, foot traffic, should I say, when people are over here. People know where it is. I say, hey, I'm going to be at the Irmo Market, blast it out to all my Facebook people, and we get people show up. They don't have to ask where it is. They just know where it is. They come to it. We have people come from the other side of town to get our product, and so we want to try and keep it as unconfusing for them as possible. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Whoever does your Facebook stuff, the picture that is in there of Carlisle, that's beautiful.
Awesome.
Well, because I can see the line of crepe myrtles, and then I can see all the, well, anyway. It's a beautiful overhead shot
Yeah.
of the town complex.
Cool. Thank
So,
you.
Thank
Yeah.
Anyone else who would like to address council? Seeing none. Next item is unfinished business. Third and final reading of ordinance 1502. And which one is that? Is that the one we're amending to add the officer administrator? Oh, okay. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? No.
Well, I had put that on there. We discussed it at the other two hearing or readings of it. This is just to establish that an administrator could be considered with the orchestra. It was discussed many times that, well, the code didn't call for an administrator, and the code had never been changed for many, many years, and was just adding that to it, and also to clearly define the duties of an administrator.
Would this mean we have to appoint it? And
No.
could we give it to an organization to let them administrate it? And I don't know of one, I'm just using this as an example. So we don't have.
Yes, the biggest thing is that an administrator, the code says that the commission is non-paid, shall serve without compensation. An administrator would be paid,
Right,
or could be paid, and this allows for that.
okay.
Whether that administrator was a person, a group of people, another organization, or whatever.
Whatever.
And I think the only question I have, and my mind is not, you got me messed up, but, as far as the, I get so between clothes and it won't come out. The fundraising, the scholarships, not scholarship, but the sponsorship.
Sponsorship.
In my mind, this still doesn't 100% clarify, but at the same time, I'm guessing, and I'm assuming, that if it doesn't clarify, then that means either one, it's not the administrator's duty, or it would be the chairman's responsibility, or the commission's responsibility, as far as getting more sponsorships. But I guess we're saying here, I mean, they gotta come up with a plan, but they don't really have to, say, go out and knock on doors and go get it. They just come up with a plan that says.
Or cause it to be done.
Yeah, call it, and then either the commission or the chairman or whoever would be the one that would have to go knock on doors to get it.
Right.
So to me, that's the part that's still a little bit, I can see us down the road fussing one day as to well, who's gonna go get the sponsorship. The orchestra commission saying, well, it ain't her responsibility, and
Well, I think we included that.
the administrator, so it's still kind of like, well, who is it?
Well, in the past, the contracts that have always been submitted for the administrator clearly stated that the administrator did not do fundraising. And I think that was primarily because being the orchestra is a town event, that an individual that was an administrator as a fundraiser has to be set up through the Secretary of State to be an official fundraiser for the municipality. So that was part of that reason.
Any more comments?
Yeah, but this is, I'm just asking, can we do this? After the last paragraph, implement a plan to obtain maximum sponsorships, donations, and available grants. Can we take the period out and put and? Because that next is a sentence fragment. I'm sorry.
Did I say that again? Implement a plan to
After
obtain the.
grants, take the period out and put and have a plan in place to accept and reply to all telephone. Otherwise, have a plan in place to accept is a fragment. It's not a sentence. That bothers me. I'm sorry.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. It doesn't change anything. It just takes a period out and adds and.
So you're gonna make a motion for,
Yeah, amend it to do that.
I'll second your amendment.
Thank you.
so that is to take the
The period
period,
out.
change it to a comma, or just take it out?
Take it out altogether and add.
Place
the word
the word
and.
in.
Yeah. Then you don't have a fragment. The rest of it's fine.
All in favor then of the amendment, do so with show of hands.
Raise your hand.
All opposed?
Hold on, how come to my hand? Can y'all hold on 1 second so I can get it off straight?
Yes.
There was only one dissenting vote.
Okay,
Sitting
but I want
next
to make
to
sure, who seconded your motion, Harvey?
her.
Yeah, I did.
The dissenting vote is sitting next to me.
Okay.
So it's amended now to and.
Thank y'all
Is there
very
any
much.
more discussion on the ordinance? Ready to vote? All in favor then of ordinance 1502 as amended, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is second reading of ordinance 1503, amend the town code. This is one having to do with categories of purchasing, not purchasing, professional services. Is there a motion for second reading?
So moved. Jake gonna add something to this?
Well, and I'll second that, so we'll
Okay.
get, we've got a motion and a second. We had taken out a sentence, and then, I think Jake was going to look at that and clarify whether the need to
we
put the
did,
sentence back in, or leave it out, or?
I thought we did look at it. I think we did look at it. I thought Brooks basically had said something.
Oh, we haven't got anything, have we?
Nope. Which one are we talking about now? The,
Professional service, we
Professional
talked about
service.
adding it in.
We took out that sentence that said something about no other services other than the ones listed, which made it, in my mind, real clear that only these were only these. These were the only professional services they are. So we took that out so that we left room for, and I'll just say in my mind, left room for us to kind of come up with something later down the road that we want to, which, that's why, in my mind, we were changing it to make it not confusing, and now, in my mind it is, but that's where we are.
I don't have a clue what we did.
Added for professionals.
We had it for professions.
We added 4. Well, I'll do this then to clarify it, and we'll see how far it goes. I'll make a motion to put that sentence back in.
Wait a minute, let me pull it up.
And what the sentence says is, no other services or occupations are considered professional services if not listed in paragraphs 1 through 4, which is the 3 that are on the original ordinance, which is consultants, employee and employer services, something like that. Is that the ones that are in there now?
This is actually in there, yes.
Yeah. And then these 4 that have been added, lawyers, accountants, architects, and engineers. And in my mind, to make sure it's not confusing in the future, I made a motion to add that line item, or that sentence back in. So,
Professional services may also include.
Water.
yeah, but that's already in there.
Yeah, okay.
And then that sentence that came out, I made a motion to put that sentence back in. So, is there?
No other services or occupations are considered.
Do what?
No other services or occupations are considered professional services if not listed in paragraphs 1 through 4 above.
Well, that's not true.
Well,
Medical's not there.
well, we
There's a
gotta get a
lot
second
that's not
first, if
there.
we don't get a second, it don't matter.
Oh,
So is there a second?
you seconded it.
No,
No, he
I
made
mean,
a
Once
motion.
you make a motion, you
I
want
mean-
to amend it.
I'm amending it
Oh, you're amending it.
to add that sentence back in that we took out last month.
Read the sentence to me again.
No other services or occupations are considered professional services if not listed in paragraphs 1 through 4 above.
Just pass up.
So, all right, no second, so that dies for
I don't know why you wanted to put that back in.
because I want it, let me write this down first.
Okay.
I'll second it, what we second?
Huh, you want a second?
You're just being, go ahead and say it. But there's a lot more professional services. That's what bothers me.
Well,
Not that we would hire necessarily, but appraisers, medical.
Insurance,
insurance is not professional services according to,
according to the state newspaper it is today.
well, according to,
Well, if they have a
Professional.
CLU and all that.
Yeah, it's just so
they're
many
not,
things.
they are professional, but they're not a professional service. And there's a difference in a professional service and someone who's a professional.
Air conditioning guys,
They're not a professional service,
you let the air conditioning break in the middle of summer.
but they're still not a professional service.
Well, you still don't have doctors on this.
Well, I don't know that we're ever going to need a doctor, and that's why I only listed
We
one.
need a doctor.
There've been times during these meetings when I thought we needed a doctor.
So, since there's no second on that, we're back to this right here, the way it was. Any other discussion on that?
I think it's pretty good the way, it may also include, which means there are other professional services.
I don't, well, the may also include has to do with the 3 that are already listed. Got 1 through 3 above, and it may include these. And
Well, I could
without
solve
the
that problem.
clarification, it could be some more right now.
We could say, we could add where it says may also include, but not limited to.
That's good, okay. Because if.
I'd make that
Because I think
the motion.
appraisers are here,
What was that?
because they have a.
At the end of, under parentheses 4, other than services listed in paragraphs 1 through 3 above, professional services may also include but not be limited to
The following.
the following.
Okay, that's good.
And is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Okay, what are you trying to clarify? I don't,
I'm trying to clarify that there are many other services out there that would be professional services that we would not have to go out to bid on, especially if we had an established relationship with some of those folks. That could be like the air conditioning person or the engineers or appraisers,
That's a good.
or your medical personnel if we needed a grief counselor, and we've had that in the town before with some bad situations, having to provide grief counselors to town people. It keeps us from being hamstringed by just saying these are the only 4 that count, or 5 that count, or 10 that count.
I do think we can have.
At some point, council's got to step up and face the music and make a decision. We can't
Well,
have it all black and white.
the idea behind, and I don't know what the original intent was, but the idea behind that is professional services. Again, if you're gonna call everything under the sun professional services, then you ought to just change it to say, we don't have to bid out anything. And that's the point. Are we going to bid out stuff when it comes up, or are we just gonna call everything professional services and claim that we don't have to bid it out to call it that? The RS and everybody else make specific, definition of what professional services are and what they are not. And there's limited amount or limited categories that fall under that. Most of it has to do with training, schooling and all those type of things, business license, or not business license, but state licenses and that kind of thing. If we want to call an appraisal or a doctor, and we want to do business with somebody without bidding it out, I think that goes beyond the intent of what our purchasing thing is. We got tax dollars we're spending, not earning. If I want to pick up, call a plumber in the middle of the night or whatever, that's my business. If it's town money, then we should be bidding it out, and that's what most citizens expect us to do. If we got a contract with somebody and their heating unit goes out, and they got a maintenance agreement, we just use them. That's all we do. Any other thing, we pretty much have the category also of saying, well, we're gonna call an emergency meeting, which we don't have to do a whole lot of notice for. Call an emergency meeting, call the meeting, do the vote, and move on. So there's avenues to take care of those situations where something does that. What we've got into in the past, and this breakdown here, and I think Jake's the one that said, we need to clarify that, and we've gone from being clear to even more cloudy, or being cloudy to even more cloudy now, because we opened up the door to have everything called professional service. As we talked before, my business, I could be a professional in my business, but I'm not a professional service. Neither is a plumber, neither is a heating and air cleaning.
I can't think of an emergency where we'd have to have something refinished.
No, I can't think of an emergency where we'd have to have an accountant. But, you know, those are what
We do
called.
bid that out, don't
We do. We bid out lawyers and we bid out a lot of stuff. There's not too much that we need to bid emergency that we can't bid it out and get 3 quotes. And most of the stuff, if it's under a dollar amount, all Bob has to do is call around and say, get 3 quotes, and then tell us, and only when it's over, what, $10,000, does it require you at that time to bid it out?
Advertising.
Advertising bid. Unless it falls under this, which is, if we're gonna stick everybody in, the brother in there, all we do is say they gotta have a business license and their professional service. I don't know if that's the true context of what that was designed to do.
So what's this ordinance trying to accomplish? It's not working.
Well,
It's worthless.
It's
It
all
was
Jake's
trying to clear it up and say that only professional services are professional service, nothing else is. But
Not the way it's written now, it's not. I mean,
well,
it's any more
we
clear.
added everything else to it.
That's what I'm saying, it's not any clearer than it was when it was.
No, it's not.
It's worth
Well,
looking at.
I think we ought to strike out all that stuff and go back to that sentence and clarify it.
Okay, what reading is this?
This is second.
Maybe I'll let Jake look at it.
You looked at it.
The situation basically is this. The South Carolina Code says you must have a purchasing ordinance. That's pretty much all it says. You are free to designate whatever you want to as a professional service. If you want to basically say that we want to call garbage men professional services, you can do that if you want to designate it as such. Or you can leave it totally blank. You can just say professional services and leave it blank. You can do it the way that Harvey has proposed, to say professional services include but are not limited to the following. That leaves it mushy. That does not give you an answer on what they are. You can either define it as clearly and harshly as you want to, or you can leave it as open as you want to, or you can leave it sort of defined. I mean, you can do it one of three ways. You can either say, like Hardy says, make it just, these are them, period. Or you can just say professional services and don't define them at all. Or you can say professional services that include these. The problem is that how you do it is a policy decision. It's not really a legal decision. I can tell you that the South Carolina Code says we must have a purchasing ordinance. That's all it says. What you put in there is up to you as the council from a policy standpoint. So you can either do real defined or real mushy or something in the middle. Now, if I'm being asked advice on something in the middle, I kind of like it something in the middle, where it basically says it includes these, but it isn't just limited to these. Like you say, a doctor, an accountant, those would certainly be something that we could basically designate it as a professional service. But you might as well quit playing around the bush in regard to what you're talking about. Everybody knows the 800-pound gorilla is the orchestra administrator a professional service. I mean, that's what you're talking about. So if you define it harshly, you give it just a list, these are them and that's it. You can do that. You can leave it totally open, professional services, which God only knows what that means. Or you can say, leave it open, but it certainly includes these. But the decision, what you make of it, is a policy call for 3 of the 5 of you to decide. Okay?
Yeah.
That's your job. I am going to be perfectly happy with any of the 3 ways you lay it out there. And I think that Bob would probably be happy with any of the 3 ways you lay it out. One thing's for certain, if you do it like Hardy says, and make it a very rigid, this is it, period, that makes Bob's job easier, because he now knows exactly what a professional service is. If you just say professional services, that sort of leaves things really difficult, because what the heck does that mean?
It means that every time we have this discussion, we get into this argument either here or at Bob's desk or over the phone as to that's not a professional service, yeah, it is, 3 council members say this, no, it isn't, yada, 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 and we spend too much time with that. And I disagree with that orchestra administrator, because I don't think this had anything to do with it. I think it had to do with, in that discussion about that, one of your emails was, we need to clarify that, because it really don't make no sense.
And,
And we went towards that direction, and now we're probably mushier than we were before, but I don't care either, one way or the
I
other.
would
Because I know we're
certainly,
gonna have this discussion every time it comes up.
I would try, that's why I say, I think you should go to the middle ground. At least list those that you clearly know are professional services. That's all.
Or leave it alone.
It's people, leave it like it, the people with initials after their name.
Yeah,
Oh, you don't want to go there.
Okay, so.
Mary's a professional service.
M-A-S-B-A-D.
Mary's a senior.
Do
I
what?
mean, really.
Mary's a senior, so he'd be a professional.
No, not those kind of things.
you
So,
know, if you look at, and again, you can go any number of places and look at who is considered a professional. If you look at the LLR, the numbers of boards and commissions, you know, according to them, plumbers are professionals, and some plumbers make a lot more than doctors and lawyers. And if they're not a professional, you know, as far as I'm concerned, when you need one, they're a professional.
That's my point
You know,
exactly.
You could basically define a professional as you could define the word professional as that anyone who is professionally regulated, any service which is basically professionally regulated by LLR, if you wanted to define it that way. But that includes beauticians and morticians, barbers, God knows what else. But I mean, if you start contracting for a $10,000 barber, I think we got real problems. But you know, it's the decision on how to lay this thing out is yours. I clearly would not leave it just mushy, where it says just professional services. I think that's too mushy. If you want to list them, and it just say that includes but not limited to them, that's okay. Or if you want to basically just say it only includes these, that's okay too. It's just how you go, or if you want to go back, I guess, and punt and say that professional services is hereby defined as any industry regulated by South Carolina Department of Labor Rights and Regulation. That gives you, you know, at that point in time, you know, contractors would then be deemed professionals because they're licensed.
They're licensed.
And you want to bid those out, so you don't want to go that far.
Let's just do this.
Just leave it alone.
This is, okay, got it, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
so you up to date, Paul, where we are?
I am.
We've got what was on the table, plus it's been amended to, but not limited to, at the end of that first sentence. And I think that's it.
So, there's a minute.
Yes, where it says professional services may also include, comma, but not limited to.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it, I think. Is that right?
Yes. Is that too mushy, Jim?
No, it works for me. I think it works for Bob. I think it gives you the flexibility when and if you want to basically hire a $10,000 undertaker, you can, you know, I think it's okay. And look, if we wind up with the same issue again in the future, we can clearly deal with it by either putting it out for bid or talking about the ordinance at that point.
I think it's a judgment thing. If you have
It is.
an administrator, he can use his best judgment and do what needs to be done.
I like that flexibility
So,
myself.
what do you need this ordinance for?
Because it was too mushy.
Is it any clearer now?
Yeah, Jay said it was.
I think it's any clearer now than it was.
It's clearer only to the extent that you have 4 clearly designated areas that you deem to be a professional service.
Well, it's not limited to those 4 though.
That's right.
So then how is that more clearer than it was 5 minutes ago?
It's really not.
Okay then.
Look, again,
That's
but,
fine, I mean, it's,
sure, but the call bearing on how to do it is council's, not mine.
I understand.
So any more discussion? All in favor then, 1503 as amended, do so with show of hands.
We gotta vote on the amendment.
I thought we voted on it.
No, we did a first and a second on the
Okay.
motion to
Well,
amend. that
vote on
Marty
the,
made.
but
We
not
need to
limited
vote on the
to.
amendment.
Okay,
So all in favor of that amendment, but not limited to, do so with show of hands. 4, opposed? Just a. Now, we'll go to the.
As amended.
As amended. 1503 as amended, but not limited.
It's not any clearer than it was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it is, it
Yeah,
comes
it is.
before.
So, all in favor then of that,
Not
do
limited to
so
those 4.
with show of hands.
It's not limited to those 4.
You were supposed to vote.
All opposed?
Harry, what, I need to know,
He's opposing it.
are you opposed?
Yes.
All right, now, new business approval of a mutual aid with Richland County Sheriff's Department and the Irmo Police Department. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Annual bookkeeping, right, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Just an update.
Now, I know since we haven't got a new sheriff in Richland, is there a reason why or is it just every so many years?
He just periodically renews them.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor then, do so show of hands.
Chief, will we need to renew the Lexington one again because we're getting a new sheriff?
After the general election, yes, sir.
After the general election.
Next item is a approval of contract with South Carolina Department of Transportation for an additional $18,100.80 to fund the Mosley Carlisle Street sidewalk project. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second, get it on the floor to discuss it.
I'll let y'all go first.
I'll go ask, oh, sorry.
Well, now, it's come down, right, in price. It was way up there, and it wasn't close to additional funds, so.
Well, they found their 80%. I mean, they were trying to get 100,000 out of us. Now they only want 18. But the cost of the project is still going up. That $100,000, that hasn't changed.
Sure.
So
Now, how much is that thing now?
it's close to a $300,000 project.
And it started out here in 2011, I'm looking at this thing, 98,000.
That's correct.
And now that's 300,000.
290.
Good.
Do we have any assurance they're gonna do it?
Nope,
None?
nope,
Then why are we giving them the money, y'all?
we don't have to.
Is there another workaround?
Do ourselves.
I mean,
I mean, the problem we got now is the money we've given them, we can't get back.
How much did we gave them already?
Let's see, we've given 2 payments. We paid them again last year. They wanted an addition, and it is now up to 40,000 that we paid them.
So we paid them 40,000.
And with this additional money, we'll be up to 58,000.
That's a lot of money.
But
Yeah.
you start at 20%.
And they're gonna turn around in 6 months from now or another year and ask us for more because they still ain't done it.
Can we ask for them something in writing?
Well, we have a contract every time we do it.
And the contract says they'll do it when? Within a calendar year?
Contract just says that, you know, we agreed to pay that, and if there's any additional cost, we agree to pay that too.
Mm-hmm.
Chip Huggins and I met with them at length where this particular project was discussed. And the reason why it's come back down is because of this meeting with Chip. And we have been given oral assurances,
Or what?
oral assurances, this is it, and it's starting in June. They apparently have already, they claim it's starting in June. I'm told it's starting in June.
bid.
Huh?
They're ready to bid. When they
They're
have
ready to bid.
additional money,
It's ready to go. What basically happened was, the first time they did it, they seriously underestimated what it would take. Then what happened is they bid it again and awarded the contract. Well, that contractor then backed out. Then they wound up with, so they had no contract, and they wound up having to bid it again, and they basically wound up with some of their federal money disappearing. Well, it's that point in time that Chip Huggins and I went down and we met with the chief engineer and we met with the head of DOT. And they basically, Chip wanted to know, how does it go from this to that? And they explained to us that they basically underestimated, they had the cost overruns. And this time, they're basically saying that what's happened is they wanted the entire $100,000. And Chip, because of the increased cost. And Chip basically said, that doesn't look right. And I said, look guys, here's the deal. Just give us our money back. Do it ourselves. At which time they said, we can't give you your money back. We're going, well, what's this? We got a contract to do the project. And the lady says, wait a minute. You let me see if we can't go and figure out what's going on. So I get an email back saying, Mr. Moore, we're so happy to announce that we have found our 80%. And
It was in an email.
yeah,
It was deleted, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, we found our money. Yeah.
We found that 80%, and you know we owe the other thanks to Chip Huggins. I mean, if it had just been me sitting in there, it wouldn't have done any good. But taking Chip with us did a huge amount of good. And Bob, were you with us on that meeting? But we met and we got that straightened out. So we're told that we're ready to go to bid, that this is going to be it. God only knows. But
You believe they're gonna actually
yeah,
do it?
Chip Huggins being involved basically has fixed it, from what I can see.
Because,
Well,
we need the sidewalks at Mosley and Carmine, we need those. And the people at Pound Meadow Wood are expecting it. I mean, I hate to not do it.
It has to go down to the Veterans Park. It has to go to the Veterans Park. We have
That's
that
what
stretch,
this is.
and that's what my understanding is. Isn't
It is, from Veterans
Yeah.
Park to Woodrow.
Yeah, that just needs to be.
It did.
And the thing that I can tell you though is they have done all of their engineering. They have secured all of their rights of way. They are ready to put this thing in. That's all I know.
and
And I hate to interrupt, but I happen to know those things.
so last time they came and asked us for more money, wasn't that kind of the same story they told us then? They were ready to bid it, we just needed more money,
That was in November, yes.
and they didn't. And now they're back to, we need more money, we're ready to bid it.
I got another email from DOT this morning that said they're just waiting, wanted to know what the status was. I told them it's not on the agenda tonight. They said they're ready to bid it out.
Is there gonna be a performance bond with this one, this bid?
Oh yeah.
They're required to by, their state code.
I mean, why did we not go after the performance bond when the
It would
contractor
basically
backed out?
it would have been up to them to go after that. I cannot give you an answer for that.
Because our project wasn't,
I don't-
our project wasn't bid by itself. They bid one of the projects at the same time.
So if we wait, the price can still go up, and there's a possibility we lose our 40,000.
58.
58 if we approve this.
And it started out at 98, and now it's at 290 something, so it's gone up $200,000, and they ain't done dipping.
But I might,
All they want is their hand out more money, and tell you they lost it, and now they found it.
yeah, but if I can add, this sidewalk money is going away. If you don't do it now, you won't do it. These community block grant funds, at least from a temporary basis, and we can tell you too, the community enhancement grants
I never
are
voted.
leaving rapidly until in the last year, the tax increase
Yeah.
for the roads and so forth, this stuff's going away. If you don't get it now, you won't get it.
Because from now on, it'll go to roads.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, we sort of had to push them to get the 80% back.
Okay.
But we could have done it in 2011 for 98 and paid the whole thing and got it done. It's gonna cost us 58 now and 4 years later. And they're probably gonna have the same song and dance on this next one. Is that what they told us on Palmetto Wood? That they lost the money and now they found it?
Well, they said they needed more money, but they didn't have any, share from us.
And how much did that one start?
Wait. We have paid, only 17, that's gonna be 30, but that project started at, 2012. It was a $67,000 project, it's already got curb and sidewalk there, and now it's up to a $144,000 project. Same length, and that was shovel ready at the time. Oh, it was. So, but they tell me they're ready to go. They're ready.
Is there anything we can do that says they don't start within 30 days?
The good news is, if it works like Eastview, we had a lot of trouble. It took them 4 years, but they ended up giving us $20,000 back. So when it actually gets bid out, I'm sure the price will be lower than this, and we should get some portion back.
That's true too.
We should, unless there's really something going on.
What a wonderful improvement.
At least I know we're watching it.
So the question is, should we have faith in these people or not?
Yeah. Do we want to give more money, we know whatever, or do we just, I don't
We
know.
should move forward.
But we need it.
So any more discussion? All in favor then of giving DOT $18,180 to move forward with Mosley and Carlisle Street, do so with show of hands. Opposed?
Barry and Hardy voted together.
Yep. We're getting on a roll here, continue. We might be together on this next one too. The next one is approval of contract for DOT for an additional $11,466 to fund the Palmetto Wood sidewalk project. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
How much we spent on that?
It started at 67 and now we're up to 144.
Right, that's the total project cost. We spent,
How much we gave already?
we've given them 17,000, and this will make, take
Now
it
we're giving
28,000,
them
29,000 total that we would have paid out, 20%.
And if this goes through, you can hurry up, call them in the morning and tell them to
So
start.
they're supposed to bid this one out in May, this one's ahead of Carlisle.
And how long is that sidewalk?
It's from,
I don't have it in front of me.
it's from Veterans Park to Woodrow Street.
Right,
Yeah.
Actually, it's further than that.
it goes
all the way
it
to
goes all the
the,
way down.
Oh,
past the detention pond where the sidewalk stops in the
Okay, so it
neighborhood.
goes all the way down.
Right. To the
That
fence
first
line.
house, isn't it?
The first house.
Yes.
On the left.
And I don't know how much
Correct.
that is.
Oh, okay.
That's
It
probably
goes-
close to 1,000 feet.
Yeah, that's,
144,000
Correct.
for 1,000 feet.
Up to the-
With the curve already there.
Curve's already there.
Mm.
Woodrow Street.
We could have done it by now.
Yeah.
That's right.
I might have to get into this racket and start bidding on these things. I would be interested in how much it really actually costs to do that sidewalk.
Yeah.
Can we get a bid from somebody other than them? Can we get somebody to go out there and look at it and tell us which one I'm trying to do it?
I can't.
Because that's simple.
That's simple.
It's not like this other one, that goes through all kinds of stuff.
I'll find out.
Can we ticket them or anything? They're on the
Ourselves, make it cheap.
You would have been proud of Mr. Huggins. He stepped up to the plate for us on that.
Good, he may have to again. He
Well, how do you
may
lose
have to.
$80-some thousand and then find it?
That was, I sort of giggled when the money came back. I sort of figured that might have been a fairly worthwhile trip down there.
Well, Jake, you remember when they couldn't find a way to enlarge Lake Murray Boulevard and they found it all of a sudden.
I understand.
Then the same pop down.
Same thing, yeah.
I explained to them that, we felt like we had like a contract. And the lady, the director of DOT was very, very, very much wanting to get it resolved. And they did go to the extra mile, I think, to get the money back. They worked hard to get it done for us. But they wouldn't have, Chip hadn't helped us.
Okay. Any more discussion? Do we know why this one? Did they lose money on this one? Did they just put it aside? Did they lose the contractor on that or anything?
No explanation. They had to go to 19 different municipalities when they came and saw me about 3 weeks ago asking for more money. And they've been asking everybody else for more money too.
Yeah, I think that
Didn't explain it to
article,
me. Right.
it was in, what was it, not Free Times.
It's throughout the whole state. They're having difficulties
Yeah.
with these projects.
But it makes you feel any better. We have been very much of a favorite child on all these sidewalk programs because thanks to our administrative staff, we continue to ask for these grants when the other municipalities don't. And as a result, the money that's allocated statewide winds up not all being used, and we have had a tremendous ability to get more sidewalks than our fair share allocation would have been. And
Yeah,
that's
that,
totally to the credit of the
And it's a big improvement for this
Oh,
town.
man.
and that was true up until about, what, 3 years ago when they took it on themselves? Then it went downhill. And then it went from 2011 bidding on, or turning in grant to 2015, asking us for 2 times more money.
Well, they did that
And
in
it
a lot of
doubled up in
places.
price.
Yeah, a lot of places were abusing the money that they were getting, and federal funds weren't being properly utilized, and the feds made them tighten up their act. And, you know, for those of us that were doing it right, kind of got caught up in that.
That's right.
So we might as well just get doing it in the future with the grant, just do them ourselves. And get them done. And probably bid them out to somebody consistent and get a better price anyway.
Possible.
So, all in favor then, we're ready to vote on this? All in favor then is the approval of the contract with DOT for an additional 1,466, do so with show of hands. Opposed?
Twice in one night?
We're gonna get us a contract, cement equipment too. We're gonna go into business together and start doing sidewalks. Next item is discussion on the permanent location of the Irmo Farmers Market, and Mr. Hoops asked for this to be on there, and I recognize him.
Okay, I know we've heard from, Ms. Hardy this evening. I'm still uncertain as to where we are and where the market's gonna be and for how long. It's my understanding that it was on Carlisle, the park wasn't ready, the park was gonna be ready, it was gonna be a great place for it. We've since finished the park, we've added extra parking, paving, we've had the okra strut there, we've had, much larger vendors there than the farmer's market normally has, that have fit in perfectly. They love the area, being able to come in, pull in their vehicle right behind their booth, and have all of their stuff right there, not have to go pull in, unload, go park somewhere else and come back. And we've got ample parking. Then we were gonna have the Christmas, event. And after that, it was my understanding the park was gonna be, the new park was gonna be used, the community park, for the, events for the, farmer's market. And I think Town Hall thought that too, because we, again, we were booking weddings in the, small park, the Irmo Park over here. And I don't want to see us telling weddings that they can't have a wedding in that park because we have something else that's got the streets blocked. And to ask a wedding to be able to come in and set up in an hour for a 1 o'clock or a 2 o'clock wedding, it is a bit much when they come in to rent the park to have their wedding. I just want it to be clearly defined by council as to at what point, if ever, the farmer's market is going to move to the new park. Or are we going to constantly have this situation? I'm opposed to having the park not be able to have weddings in that beautiful park. And because we have the farmer's market in the street. We have ample parking in the new park now. There's plenty of places for the vendors to park and not take up any of the parking spaces that are lined off over there now.
I believe the park, wherever the farmer's market wants to have the event, let them have it. They organize it, they like this setting. I would think people, when they book weddings, they do it hopefully a year in advance, not the month before. And, but the farmer's market, they like this area. I mean, it appears to be crowded for us, but we're not putting it together. Let them have it where they want it. They want it in Veterans Park. Let them have it. My goodness, it's a great event. Let's don't dictate to them where they should have it. On Saturdays, have y'all been to the park? It's just full.
I understand Harvey's thinking, and I know we thought it was gonna be there at some point, but from a retail point of view, if you move, you lose. And that's all that keeps going through my mind. If we move them, now that they've established a place, they're gonna lose, and we might lose, because of the business thing. And I like having it at the new park if at all possible, but if they want to stay on Carlisle, I do think it's their choice. Now, I don't want, how many weddings are we interviewing?
We've had to, they canceled the farmer's market the first day on April 4th for a big wedding, so they were starting April 18th. The only conflict we have now, because we stopped, we don't have any more reservations, is May 4th. For a wedding that starts at 1 o'clock, but they want to start setting up around 11:12. So I have asked Heather, and they were going to start trying to clear out the farmer's market around 11:15, 11:30, get them out of there earlier on that Saturday. And those are the only two conflicts that we have this year so far.
So we're trying to cooperate and work it out.
Yes.
Okay. I want it to stay a success. If the location is the reason it is, I think we're lucky we have 2 locations. But the park's pretty full Saturday, the big park. And I don't.
I mean, that's built-in people for you.
Yeah.
I'll go along with whatever the council wants. I just want it to be cohesive.
And I'm with whatever they want.
I know we listen to all kinds of concerns about the church and if there's a funeral, and I know they've worked very hard to work with the church, but I know when we had the open strut on Carlisle, we worked very hard with the church too, and it was always came down to that 11th hour. It was a touch and go situation, and we thought we had it all worked out, that it was going to go to the new park, where we have more room, and obviously I was mistaken.
No, I remember the same conversations, but I also think we have to let them have input. If that's where they want to have it, you have an opinion on that?
I'm tired of the church arguing and telling me that they're inconvenienced by the parking situation. All I hear is, people are parking on our land and not paying parking fees, or roping it off, and they're disregarding that, that roped off area, and I'm just tired of it. I mean, if these people are going to work with the church and they have contacted them, that's one thing, but if they haven't done that, they need to do that, because the continual aggravation of the church calling me, or me personally, or calling and complaining that Councilor Walker, the market is abusing our land or abusing our parking lot or whatever. I'm just tired of hearing it. So we own the real estate over there at the new park. We can accommodate them over there. We can accommodate any growth, any infrastructure questions they have. We don't control the real estate around that Carlisle Street. The church does. So I mean, if you continue to have it there, that's fine. But you're going to be restricted by the churches not wanting other people to park on their land, and that's the thing they're considering.
There's another issue that comes up too, and the fact that we have the weddings there. We do rent that out for the weddings, and that was something that we talked about in the budget workshop tonight, is the income from both the parks now.
It's significant.
It is significant, but if we eliminate the ability, and I say eliminate because now we're saying, well, we won't be booking weddings around that time on those weekends that the market is there. So that's just revenue that's gone.
Well, do many people get married in the morning? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know the actual numbers. A lot of them get married around between 1 and 2 before
Yeah.
it gets real hot, but they're setting up in the morning. Most of them are on Sundays, but I mean, we do have Saturday weddings. A lot of them in the summertime get moved way to the afternoon when it's really not hot either.
okay.
So,
I would just say, not to preclude a wedding, but we will have to.
In the event of a wedding, would the farmer's market be flexible to change it to another Saturday like they're doing in April?
But that
They already
changes
have
what
it set
people
up.
think.
Since they already have it set up on the first and third Saturdays,
first and third Saturday.
You're asking 40 vendors then to change their
and it's starting in
routine. They
March.
may have something.
First one's April 18th, or
April.
17th, or
So if that was April through when?
April, what?
Through September, October?
Through September.
Through September.
It's 11 weeks.
So if they have, quote, call it reserved for all intents and purposes,
well,
the street,
marketing.
yeah, then if somebody wants a wedding on that day, they'd have to have it after 1 with the understanding that there's other stuff going on.
Well, you see, we didn't really have this issue last year because we had marked off all the farmers markets. It's just that the confusion this year, because we thought they were going to the new park, we didn't just block off the first and third Saturdays, and we had weddings starting then. We just didn't block it off like we
Now,
normally
we block it off now, the first and third Saturday for the rest of the year.
did. Well, we did, that's why I say we didn't have
So we
any
meant-
conflicts.
And if we mark it off next year, and until they tell us they want to move it somewhere else, or not do it, or put it at the park, or put it at Veterans Park, or somewhere else, then at least we know to block off first and third Saturday.
And we can eliminate the wedding issues. I don't know about the church issues. I know that,
Yeah, now, I haven't heard anything from that church.
no, but I'm.
40-year-old policy that
I just know they've been very successful, or to me they have.
Well, a wedding could be happening. Have they rented a park yet, the new community park yet for a wedding?
No, I don't think so.
Well, they could.
That's not quite as scenic, because
Well, they could.
they could, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Because
but
of the
We're gonna
gazebo
eliminate
and the
that
bathroom
possibility.
and all that.
Picnic
That'd be
shelter,
more
you
money.
can have it in that picnic
I like the
shelter,
atmosphere.
in case it rains.
I know that, but still, it's the same argument. But the farmer's market has worked at this part. Why change?
And I agree with what Paul and Kat said too. I mean, they get a business license from us, it's their business, and for us to tell them what to do, to me, it'd be like us telling McDonald's to move to the other side of the street because we don't like it. We don't, I don't think we ought to get into
No,
that.
that's what they don't.
I think we just need to let them stay where they are. When they come to us and tell us they want to move it, then that's a different story. But I think we do need to make sure we set aside this year, next year, and whatever, that first and third Saturday, so we don't have a mix-up in the future. And, I don't know, I know I got a lot of calls last year, or whatever it was, from the church, but I haven't had any in a while, so I don't know, maybe I started calling Barry and quit calling me.
I never understood why they didn't set up a thing and have barbecue. Can't you say?
Well,
Good, it's
makes too much sense.
I think at one
that's a good
time,
way to make money.
you might be able to correct that, but DHEC, I think there was some kind of, if they did something out there, and y'all got DHEC, I don't wanna say checking y'all people, there was some kind of,
Right, we never talked about having food out there, but they have a ladies group that was gonna do crochet, and no, I'm mistaken, they did say something about hot dogs.
yeah,
You know, if they're on church grounds and they're not a part of our market, that's, you know, we're not gonna check
So they can do
check
what they
them, they
want.
can do what they want. But this year, what I think that they're planning to do is they're going to charge for parking, and we're going to advertise to the community in our newsletters on Facebook page, bring an extra buck. The youth's going to be out there doing fundraisers on Saturdays. If you want to park close to the market, it's the advantage of parking close to the market, and it's a fundraiser. So I'm sure people are going to throw an extra buck in their pocket and have the kids.
so that's parking in the field,
I'm sorry?
parking in that field,
Parking in the field and at the church.
and at the church.
Right, and when I talk with Pastor Brian, I mean, I talk to him every year. This year, he was extremely receptive about it. Yeah, he was great. He liked the ideas that we brainstormed with. He's, you know, kind of excited about getting involved this year. It's time to get involved. So I think the church issue, hopefully, is squashed. He's had my cell phone number for 3 years. You know, I gave it to him again. I gave him my email. I sent him an email with the information after we got off the telephone, so he'd have it again.
You got it.
So,
I guarantee you got it.
Okay. So, it sounds like at least 3, maybe 3.5, I guess, Harvey saying, if it's, whatever they want to do is fine.
Well, if that's kind of the feel of council. I just want it to be, you know, clearly stated so that there's not any more confusion. Again, I just hate to see us lose the revenue from that when we're not gaining any revenue other than business license once a year.
So, we're all in favor of letting them do what they want to do, where they
Yeah,
want to do
maybe
it?
the town ought to have a booth that we can make things and.
We'll let you handle that.
A dunking booth.
Yeah.
Dunking booth, that's right. I'm sure people would love to dunk us, and I wouldn't blame them.
I like to dunk some of y'all, how many?
Well,
Put
you'd
that
be
thing
high
up,
on
you
my
throw
list
that,
too.
yeah, put that bottle thing up and dunk it. Next is, that's what it sounds like to me.
Not a voting item, it's just majority.
Yeah.
I think the main thing will come, do we have to vote on closing the streets for that?
There are streets.
Oh, okay, okay, so that's taken care of. So, if I'm not misunderstanding, then we can tell them to stay there, if they want to. Okay. Next item is the appointment to the Orchestra Commission, and I'll recognize Kathy since she put this
Well,
on.
it's not often that anyone calls and says, I really want to work for the orchestra. I really want to be on that commission. And I went, hold on, girl. Let me write this down. The lady who started the farmer's market and has made a big success out of it, Heather, wants to be on the orchestra commission. I think she'd be an asset. We know she's a hard worker, and we know she can get up early in the morning. And I think it would be a wonderful appointment. I think it's good for her and good for us too.
Is this the voting?
Now, I don't know. I
Is
don't
this
know
the
what's
vote one, or is there
vacant,
one
but I
vote
think
one
there is a
open, or-
vacancy.
This would be a voting one. It has 6 voting members right now, there are authorized 7.
I think she's a
So, who'd I know, but did you say Heather?
party.
So it was, but I didn't know if you said it for the record, so Kim put it on there.
I almost said Heather and Brian party because that's the way it is on Facebook. But it's just
So we need discussion.
Yeah, there's also Jerome Tyler, who came from the committee, wanted to be on the OSER commission too. So we're going to appoint him while we're doing it. He wanted to be a voter. As a matter of fact, he came from the OSER commission. They recommended.
Didn't they pull that?
Didn't the orchestra?
Yes, the orchestra commission chairman.
Pull that.
For Mr. Tyler, yes.
Okay. So, make a note here. But we can still put them back on ourselves.
That's right.
Correct.
It is council decision.
All right, any,
How many positions are open?
just one?
Just one.
Well,
Voting.
there's one voting, and then there's as many as we want non-voting, I guess.
Correct.
You can put as many as you want to on there. So any more discussion?
So,
We got two names.
Administrator Jerome Tyler, so he was a candidate, but the commission decided not to put his name.
No, he was recommended by the council, or the commission rather, and they never went forward with it because all that stuff was going on with the orchestra commission.
Well,
They pulled his,
yeah, Kirk
recommendation until when it happened.
told you to take his name off.
Kirk had pulled his name off.
Yeah.
How many years has he served on that?
He hasn't served.
Jerome hasn't been appointed.
Okay,
This was just a couple of months ago.
all right. I don't speak.
So I'm not sure 100% now, has this name been given? I think you said,
Yep, talked to Kirk last week.
You're okay with it?
This evening, he doesn't have a problem realizing, you know, it's council's decision anyway. He did not have a problem appointing Heather.
okay. So I guess what we can do is vote on both names, since there's two names. And Heather's was up first, so all in favor then
Well,
of
did
Heather?
anybody second? Do we need a second
Well,
for,
We don't need a second on
Okay, for the
on
appointment,
an
okay.
appointment.
and Mr. Walker
Nominated.
nominated
Jerome
Mr.
Tyler.
Walker?
So all in favor of Heather Hardy to serve, do so with show of hands.
Yeah,
And all opposed, or do we just?
It's
Did you-
different.
Okay. So is that 4 or 5?
Fine.
Well, that's in my count, five.
Barry voted for it.
Oh, okay.
okay.
All in favor then, well, that would be the,
That would be all
The
the
voting
voting
members.
members. Also recommend the non-voting members, but the commission can do that themselves. Council doesn't have to recommend, they can pick all the non-voting members they want. The
oh,
commission.
so they can just put them on there. Okay.
So that's up to them?
That's up to them.
All right.
Well, this name's being put up here, so we need to either vote on it or vote it down, or what?
Well, it was unanimous for Heather, so there's no more positions open.
I thought there was, you said there was 7, it was 5.
No, there's 6 on there now.
There's 6 under now.
Who was 6?
That's Kurt, Nanette, Kathy,
Louise,
Kim Oliver.
Louise,
Kim Oliver,
Kim.
and the guy right there, I'm thinking of his name, I wouldn't blank.
Matt.
Yeah, Matt. So that would be them.
Those are the 6 right there.
All right, so it's, you need 7, don't you? Need an odd number?
Just put
And they
Heather
just
on.
And then Heather's be second.
Heather says that.
I thought it was 6 was it? I'm sorry, I lost count.
7.
Congratulations, Heather.
So you're gonna go for Jerome then?
That's
Well-
up to the commission.
Are we gonna vote on that? That would be a council decision, we can vote on it, or we can just refer it to
The commission.
the commission and let them do what they want to. So is that what y'all wanna do? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we'll send that name over to Kurt and let him among the non-voting members, whatever you call it. Next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address council about anything, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda, may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and that's it. Oh, you're quick.
George Glassfirm, 100 Denbeck Road. First, I want to thank this lady for offering her services to the orchestra. As a citizen, I'm grateful that you're doing that. Then I want to address item 8B, unfinished business. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, or risk beating a dead horse, as to the professional services issue. A couple of points. I would echo Mr. Moore's recommendation that you address the issue of orchestra administrator, and whether or not that's a professional service. Whatever you decide, I think you need to put it in there in writing so that this ugly issue doesn't rear its head again. Let's get that nailed down. It seems like there's a reluctance to put that amendment in there, and I'm not suggesting which way the council does that, but pick one and codify it. The second thing is, I don't pretend to be an expert on how to write legislation, but it seems to me that with the amendment that Mr. Hoots recommended in the latest, and I haven't seen this in writing, but I'm just listening to what you gentlemen and lady said, that your proposed amendment in the last paragraph as to, but not limited to, I don't think that's, from a statutory construction perspective, accurate or clear, because if you do that, it's clearly not limited to those things, because there are items that precede that in the ordinance that are specific. So clearly it's not limited to those, if you follow my logic there. Thank you. I'm moving on. Do you agree with that, Mr. Moore?
I think either way, you know, again, it's a policy decision they have to set.
Well, I'm thinking more of statute, from a statutory construction perspective than policy.
I'd have to look at it.
But, okay.
Now, you talking about, this is one of those comma and things that Kathy was talking about up here?
No.
Okay.
He's saying clearly it's not limited to those 4 professions because the ones
Well,
above.
there's 3 above and then there's 4 below. And
Because
then,
it's not limited to those 4 because
No,
we
but
just
some
told
side.
3 above,
okay.
right?
Right, good. I knew you'd appreciate that, Ms. Condon. Thank you, Ms. Sentence Fragment.
I had a lot of years of English.
Thank you. I respect and appreciate that. On to item 9D, as to the farmer's market, a couple of questions and concerns about that. First of all, when somebody rents the town park right here for a wedding, my understanding is all they're renting is the use of the gazebo and a portion of the park and not the streets. And I don't know that it's the town's responsibility to guarantee them available parking that's public parking there. They're renting the gazebo in the park, they get that. Parking's their problem, right? Who's to say that on a day with no farmer's market, that all those spaces wouldn't be occupied just by people that want to use the park or walk around the neighborhood?
Well,
It is.
well, if somebody rented the gazebo, I think, or for whatever, for whatever they want over there, and they say, we want to have some parking, we would cone off a section of that parking.
Is that what's done now? On a non farmer's market day, is a section of the parking coned off?
We would cone it off for a wedding.
Is that done now, though, on a non-farmer's market day?
Only if they ask for it. We've had carriages for weddings out there, and we will mark off car lots so they got a place to park the carriage and the horse.
Or a limo, or whatever.
Okay, so that is done
You
for
know, it's
request.
kind of, George, be realistic. We can't bring them in from overhead. They've got to come in some way.
Well, okay.
The street is the obvious place.
Well, what about the parking lot down there at the bottom of the park? Is that not accessible?
It would be accessible from that street.
I'm on the north end of the park, that parking lot that, I don't know, it's got, what, 15 or 20 spaces in it? Or, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yes, that's available.
Yeah, okay, so
If nobody's in it. Yeah.
okay, that's available whether the farmer's market's up and running or not, right?
Correct.
Right,
Okay, but probably when the farmer's market's running, people park there to go to the farmer's market.
right.
Okay. And then as to your concern about loss of revenue, well, I certainly want to see the town make revenue. Should that be a priority, or should that take priority over a function that is so civically minded and civically progressive and great for the community like the farmer's market? Should we be more concerned about putting on the farmer's market, which a lot of people like, or missing out on the revenue for 1 or 2 weddings?
Well, I think that was a decision that council needed to make as a whole, and be very clear about.
And I don't dispute that. My view is, I think the revenue, what's the revenue for renting out the gazebo or whatever it is for a wedding? What do you get, what's I get for that, $100?
$150 deposit and a $50, $50 rental fee, if you're in town.
If you're in town.
Okay, so,
Most of them are in town.
okay, so the town's only losing $50.
$50 and we get what?
Yeah, and
$2,000 or $25? What do we get from the farmer's market?
We get
$500.
500.
okay, that seems like a no-brainer to me.
And the weddings that have latchkey numbers.
Were you aware of those respective numbers? Okay, I think 50 versus 500, and just from a
Well,
monetary
no,
perspective,
50
let alone the respective
You
value.
got your numbers wrong to start with.
Oh,
Correct.
$50?
50 is a cleanup fee, right? No,
50's room.
If-
50
It's a rental.
is a rental.
But
For
they
an
have to pay
in-town.
us $200, and we give them back $150
If they clean up good.
deposit.
Cleanup, okay.
Yeah, if everything's, and we've never had anybody mess anything up.
Okay, so rental revenue's $50 for in-town
Even the
residents.
horses, huh?
So you might rent it out 4 or 5 times.
But, I mean, 50 versus 500, notwithstanding the respective value of each event to the town as a whole. I think that's a spurious argument, frankly, about the revenue. So, please take that for what it's worth. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address council?
I'm Elmer Danko, I live at 500 Finsbury Road. I'm back here again to talk a little bit about our sanitation problems. Are you, the members of council, knowledgeable of the fact that there was no yard trash pickup in our neighborhood on Wednesday, 2/25 and 3/4 over the past few weeks? Are you knowledgeable of the fact that there was no pickup on Wednesday?
2 weeks or just one time?
On 2/25, there was no
Just the
pickup
one
on
day?
Wednesday? Pardon?
Just that one day or?
No, on 2/25, February 25th. And again on 3/4, March the 4th.
Oh, okay.
Okay? There was no yard trash pickup on Wednesday.
Do we know why?
They picked it up on Thursday. Okay? No, that's part of the problem.
They picked it up.
We don't know why the trash is not being picked up on Wednesday.
They picked it up on Thursday both times?
Pardon?
Both weeks? On Thursday?
They picked it up on Thursday both weeks, okay? Now, on March the 11th, they did not pick up the trash on all of Tewksbury Court. The story is, they come up the hill on Finsbury, they turned into Tewksbury, they pulled up to where I had 2 trash cans of trash. They picked up the 2 cans of trash, and immediately after they dumped the 2 cans of trash, and the worker got back on the truck, they backed the truck out back into Finsbury Road and took off up the road. They did not pick up the yard trash across the street from me, up the street from me. They took off like a big bird. What is going on? We're paying for a trash service that we're not getting the service we're supposed to get. Back on July 29th of 2013, we have a letter, I have it posted in my garage, that effective on that week, all of our trash is going to be picked up on Wednesdays. Why isn't the trash being picked up like it's supposed to be? Most of the problem is with the yard trash. Now, we're asking for help to get the problem fixed. What can we expect from council for the help that we're asking for?
I know that Mr. Bob met with, Mr. Harding, right? Do you want to tell him the results?
Well, for the one that happened last week, the reason that the trash didn't get picked up is the hydraulics broke on the truck. The driver took the truck back to the shop and went home. I mean, you don't care about this. Is not.
That's for the 11th?
That's for the 11th, yeah. And the only way the truck was broke. Supervisor didn't find out for about 3 or 4 hours, and then they had to schedule the truck to come back out Thursday. And of course, they fired the guy.
They only have one truck that can make these pickups?
Only one that picks up yard trash on that day in that area, yes.
Do you know about the other 2 days?
No, I have not heard about those 2 days back on the 4th of March.
What, do we have that problem just at that end of the subdivision, or is this area-wide? In other words, if they're not there on Wednesday for us, Is it safe to assume that they're not anywhere in the town of Irmo?
Not for yard trash last Wednesday, no.
They didn't pick up anywhere last week?
No.
No, they picked up about 20 houses, he said, for the truck broke. And they had to come back later.
But they came back on Thursday.
Came back on Thursday.
Friday afternoon in my neighborhood.
They did, and then, yeah, and I
But
think
that was
they
for
said it
the
was
last-
Friday,
that was last
Saturday.
Just last Wednesday,
They didn't get it.
for yard trash.
Now,
Is he
wouldn't it
trying
be the
to correct this?
wouldn't it be the responsibility of the garbage company to bring a truck no matter what?
So we had a long talk with him, but again, they don't have control of their driver when that one driver come back with a broke truck and then decide to go home and not tell anybody. Supervisors are all out around checking the area because Irma's not the only place they pick up on Wednesday.
But you said they did fire the driver.
They did fire the driver, yes.
How about impose a fine? Yeah.
Well, there again, in my presentation at the previous meeting, I made a comment that they need to work with their people so that their people become disciplined in their areas of responsibility. So it looks like part of the problem is that the sanitation collector is not properly training their people to accept the responsibilities that they're being paid to do. And if the people don't want the job, then they need to find other people that will do the job. I know it's not the most pleasant job to have. But if you know, the sanitation people made a commitment to pick up everything on one given day. It used to be they used to collect some of it on one day and something else on another day. But they are the ones that told us that they could properly handle to pick up everything on one day. And it's not being done. You know, I can go back. There's weeks before. Why did they not pick up on Wednesday for 5 weeks in a row last fall? Did they have a hydraulic problem, Bob, every week? Did they have a flat tire every week?
First I heard
5 weeks in a row? Pardon?
First I've heard about it, it's just right now, I don't have a clue.
What? What have you heard?
You said they missed 5 weeks last year, I don't know what you're talking about, Alan.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I talked to you personally up there a few weeks, or a couple weeks, or the meeting that we had here after it happened. The first 2 weeks,
Last year.
the first 2 weeks,
And what was the
I did not call Vi because, you know, we did have some bad weather and we had some wind, so sometime there's an overload of debris to be picked up, okay? But when it they didn't show up the third week, the fourth week, and the fifth week. There were 5 weeks in a row that our yard trash was not picked up on a Wednesday. My question is, what's going on with the garbage service?
It should improve, I would assume, tomorrow, wouldn't it? We should have no problems.
We had a long discussion last week, I would like to think that they got the message.
Here again, I mentioned that the drivers are not accepting their responsibility. When they drove into Tewksbury Court, they picked up mine 50 feet down from where my cans were, my neighbor's cans were. He could see the cans there. He made no effort to go down there after they emptied my cans. They backed the truck up, took off up Finsbury Road. They did not pick up across the street from me. They did not pick up 2 doors up from me. They took off like big birds, left the community.
Can we get a weekly report from Vi, like every Monday morning, emailed out to all of us council on what calls came in that were missed?
She has
She
that
has a
capability,
report, yeah.
yeah, because she sends a report to Advanced every Thursday.
Right.
Oh, she does a
So
good
we could
job.
get one every Thursday or whenever she does. we
Probably
get it every
Thursday or Friday.
That's
Whenever they call in on Thursday, they're supposedly gonna have a truck out there on Friday to take care of whatever wasn't picked up Wednesday.
Okay.
But a lot of times, some of those calls are, and they send a sheet back to Vi. If some of them, this household garbage doesn't get picked up, it's because they don't have their can out there.
Well, we can look at that report and kind of tell if there's certain parts of the neighborhood that they're missing a lot.
That's what we do, you know.
Yeah.
Because Vi's the only person that would know.
Because I do believe there's probably, I'm just in my short, whatever, thinking 50 more homes in Irmo than they can pick up in a day, something to that effect. They're just a little bit bigger than what they can do, and every week they're missing a different neighborhood. At the end of the day, whatever you want to call it, they're missing a little bit, making it not the same neighborhood all the time, so that people don't call, but they're just disguising it like that, and maybe we need to,
Well, that is.
they just either gotta go to 2 days.
Well, also, they'll tell you that a lot of times on the yard trash, like spring now, people are cleaning up their
Mhm.
yards, there's a whole lot more that they're picking up, the truck gets full,
Gotta
and
go dump it.
they leave and
Don't come
don't
back.
come
They
back.
don't come back.
So
Yet,
it may need another, I don't know, maybe need
Maybe
another
we need
truck.
to do Wednesday and Thursday on yard trash, or break it just over into 2 days. And they've got enough time to do everything, and come back, and the next day, come back, we need to talk about that.
Or let Vi tell us what needs to be done. She's the only one that knows. She has
Yeah, but she
the,
knows where the calls are coming
yeah,
from,
she
but
has the overall view of where the problems are.
And then
we may
sometimes
need
she
to
goes
look at-
down there and they give her an answer, an excuse that's really not the truth. Just
Yeah.
like this whole thing that happened last Wednesday, says the truck broke down.
Right.
Well, they're out there. Well, no, it was evident they weren't.
Right.
Yeah, we may need to start talking to him about 2 days a week for, just see what they can do about that.
We're gonna try to fix this.
Estimate
We
they can do
we
that.
don't know a lot of it because Vi handles it and very well. You know, she,
Yeah, but maybe
Maybe
talk to
make
Marty,
it
can we go
more
to 2
aware.
days a week?
I'll call him.
Wednesday and
Yeah.
Thursday or some kind of, that way they ain't pushing to get it all done in one day, and then every time the truck breaks down or can't get back in time, then you're, maybe that'll.
well, I would just remind you again, Your Honor, that, and members of the council, that when we do call and talk to Vi there at Town Hall, she is very receptive to our phone call. She is very polite, very courteous. And many times when we call, she says she will call immediately the sanitation people and see if they can't come the same afternoon yet to make the pickup. So Vi is doing a very good job on doing whatever her responsibility is so far as the sanitation program is concerned. But we do need your help because we'd like to get this problem fixed. You know, if Wednesday's pickup day, Wednesday should be pickup day.
And if you call me Your Honor,
Pardon?
I like that. Did you put that in the minutes?
don't call him that again, Elmer, it just goes to his head.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I think we do, I think I heard you say we had an executive session. Is it for a legal matter? So, is there a motion for an executive session for a legal matter?
So moved.
And a
Second.
all in favor? All ready. We are out of executive session, no decisions were made, and no votes were taken. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
You come to the fire department.